This is the Witcher podcast on TV Podcast Industries. We're back at part 3 of our coverage of The Witcher Season 3. This time we're talking about Episode 5, The Art of the Illusion, and Episode 6, Everyone Has a Plan Till They're Punched in the Face.
Butcher, I wondered whether I'd see you again. I wondered if I'd see your head on a pike. I'm hurt, Geralt. After all, it wasn't me who plunged my dagger into poor revelry. I'll make you pay for everything you've done. I'm saving the continent. Rooting out the deadly creatures that threaten us all, not unlike you. I am nothing like you. Then show me, Witcher. I want to see just how different we are.
Welcome back, fellow Witchers. We're back with our third part of our Witcher coverage for Season 3 of The Witcher. I've said The Witcher a lot there. But this is our third part where we're going to be covering Episode 5, The Art of the Illusion, and Episode 6, Everyone Has a Plan Till They're Punched in the Face. If you haven't joined us before, we cover each episode separately, so we're just going to talk about Episode 5 in the first half of this, and then Episode 6 afterwards. But I am one of your hosts, Derek.
Hello there, fellow Witchers. It's Cyrilla here. I am one of your other hosts, John. Not Cyrilla. Or
Not
Scylla.
Or Scylla,
in fact.
No, not at all. We decided to bridge the gap between Volume 1 and Volume 2 as they were released in weird parts. They were released in 5 episodes in Part 1, and Volume 2 released last week on July 27th. So we decided to hold off on our coverage of Part 5 so we could cover 2 episodes.
Yes,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's part of the reason. The other reason was because Job was away, so we couldn't get an extra episode out.
Yeah, and we had Secret Invasion, and we've just started up on Good Omens Season 2 as well,
Exactly.
on Prime. So, yes, fellow Witchers, if you are also a fellow Acolyte or a fellow Defender, please head on over to tvpodcastindustries.com, where you can join any good or evil podcast catcher of your choice to listen to our coverage of those shows.
Absolutely. And we still have our pub quiz going on for Secret Invasion. Still time to enter that. If you've watched the episodes of Secret Invasion over on the website, you'll see 6 questions, 1 for each episode, and you can enter the pub quiz over there. Just email us with to feedback at tvpodcastindustries.com with all 6 answers, and you could be in with a chance of getting your hands on some Secret Invasion goodies. That's the same address that you email us if you want to send in your thoughts on anything that's happened in Season 3 of The Witcher as well. We'll be covering the final 2 episodes in our next podcast on The Witcher as well.
Yes, and of course, we are over on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/TV Podcast Industries.
Yep, spoiler posters up there for all of the Witcher shows as well, Witcher episodes. Good stuff. Let's get into our discussion of Episode 5, The Art of the Illusion.
Indeed. Derek, what are some of the episode details?
Well, once again, the show is based on the book series by Andrzej Sapkowski and the game series from CD Projekt Red. The showrunner for the show, for the entire series and creator of this version on Netflix, is Lauren Schmidt-Hisrich. This episode was directed by Lonnie Perister. He's directed episodes of Scream Queens, 9 episodes of American Horror Story, and interestingly got his start as a visual effects supervisor on Buffy, Angel, Firefly. And coming up, he's directing episodes of House of the Dragon Season 2 as well.
Oh, very, very interesting, both in terms of Scream Queens, American Horror Story, and Buffy, Angel, and Firefly.
Yeah.
Wow, yes. Some fab shows there that I've loved watching throughout the ages, dare I say it.
Yes.
To keep with the epicness that is The Witcher. Yeah, and I'd certainly be interested to see what he comes up with House of the Dragon Season 2.
Yeah.
The episodes that he looks after there.
Absolutely. It'd be very interesting to see. That was a great first season. Looking forward to the second season of that whenever the strike finishes and they can close off and finish off that show. It'll be great to see them all back.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will admit, of course, that as you can see, Lonnie's been in the industry a very long time, and I may have chosen all the things that we might like out of his filmography. So, so he may have done some other stuff that we haven't seen as well, John.
Absolutely. But I mean, what else are you going to choose?
Exactly. I can't list off his whole IMDb, I suppose.
Exactly. Yeah. So pick the ones that you know about and love.
Exactly. This episode was written by Claire Higgins. She's been on the writing team since season 2 of the show and will, of course, be back for season 4 of the show as well. And interestingly, Claire was also a writer on the Umbrella Academy, which we also cover here on TV Podcast Industries.
Excellent stuff. Yes. And of course, with Lauren Schmidt-Hisrich involved in Umbrella Academy as well.
Yeah.
No doubt there was a little sort of eyeing up of talent.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Well, John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis of season 3, episode 5 of The Witcher, The Art of the Illusion?
Sure. With the banquet over, Geralt and Yennefer discuss the night's events from the bathtub, the bed, from beneath the sheets, and in the morning after. Despite his discomfort at the surroundings and the company, Yennefer and Geralt step out arm in arm and dress to kill at a lavish ball. But all is not as it appears during the evening of gossip, spiked drinks, revelry, and revelation. Geralt tries very hard to socialise and avoid the revelling sorcerers. His patience is pushed by Dijkstra, Phillipa and Stregabour during the evening, and Yennefer has to remind him they need to lie low in order to expose Stregobor as the Dark Mage during the conclave the following day. However, their plans change when Yennefer is alerted by Istredd and Triss about Stregobor's possession of the Book of Monoliths. Geralt and Istredd pretend to fight to cover for Yennefer as she breaks into Stregobor's study, where they discover the book as well as apparent evidence of kidnapping half-elven students. Stregobor is arrested in his study by Tissaia, Vilgefortz and Artoris, and the banquet is deemed a diplomatic success. Once Yennefer and Geralt put all the pieces of the night together, however, they realise the mastermind behind Rience's actions and the kidnappings is Vilgefortz, who only framed Stregobor. Scouting the halls to find Vilgefortz, Geralt is distracted by sounds of a distant fight and is ambushed at knife point by Dijkstra as he enacts his plan to purge the Brotherhood of Sorcerers.
Very good. Big episode. And this was the cliffhanger that they left part 1 on about a month ago.
Yes. I have to say, straight off the bat here, absolutely loved episode 5. Mm-hmm. And then when episode 6 came out, these two for me, I just thoroughly enjoyed.
Absolutely. You know what?
Really thought they were some of the best Witcher episodes we've had, certainly this season.
Do you know what? This might be one of my favorite shows, favorite episodes of TV this year. I absolutely loved the structure of it, how it was put together, and the story that was unfolding. I thought it was really interesting. I think you even have it in your synopsis there. The night of revelry and revelation just works so well for this type of story. We've seen it before in The Witcher. I think we saw that early on in season 1. This idea of telling things out of order and out of time. That was the whole of season 1. Did it that way. This all in one episode in here in episode 5, I think worked really well, where you get the kind of differing perspectives, little bits added on to each moment, each time we flash back to it. I thought that was really cool. So, definitely loved this episode. Great stuff. What we normally do is pick out a big moment from the episode to talk about.
Yes.
I think I'll hand it over to you first, because I think you've got basically the big moment from the episode, which is...
Yes, it is. It's a little, let's just say I have a point A big moment and a point B big moment.
Okay.
The point A is we get Geralt in a bathtub. I've not seen Geralt in a bathtub since season 1.
Oh.
And this time he is joined, I don't think there was anything in season 2.
Did we not get a season 2?
I'm not too sure. I might be wrong, but it was good to see Geralt in a bathtub.
Yeah.
Joined by Yennefer.
Absolutely.
And it does lead me on to my point B, which is not as sexy as these two living out their post-ball sort of love affair, of which is another big thing, because we do have Geralt saying, I love you, to Yennefer.
Yes, we do.
And this is the reason why all their post-ball, post-banquet revelry as they discuss the machinations of the evening is from the bathtub to under the bed covers, to the morning after, all of this in a very intimate way, sort of the trust, the love, the respect, all coming out between these two as they discuss this really important thing, which is trying to expose Stregobor as this dark mage. But it's to the bigger point of, I think the structure of this episode was really good. It just,
absolutely,
it peeled back the layers of the onion, revealing and reliving the ball from the different perspectives or the different conversations throughout that night, but always returning at different intervals to Yennefer and Geralt, going about their shenanigans, but also discussing the different things that they heard and what they meant. And I just loved how this unfolded as, to begin with, we almost just really see Geralt being totally sort of clammed up, not wanting to be there at all, sort of trying desperately to be polite to Dijkstra, finding it very hard to be polite to Stregobor in how he's dealing with a staff member. But, a little bit of information, and then we go back to the ball from a different perspective where we see, more and more of the conversations playing out, such as between Geralt and Phillipa.
Yeah, I love that. Really love that. I love that it's all based around the musical touch, as the show does so well, based around the musical touch of the house band singing All Is Not As It Seems, as we learn more and more about what's going on between each of these individuals that have come to the party with their own plan. We left it off at the end of episode 4 with everybody standing outside the door saying, "Are you ready?" and then giving their responses to their relative partner as we went in. This episode also starts, or that part of the ball also starts with Yennefer and Geralt outside going, "Are you ready?" Exactly as we had, as we mentioned the last episode. But this time we now see it all develop out, what's been going on with each of those groups of people. And you could easily have done each of the individual scenes separately from each other, but this idea of it moving through the party, through Geralt and Yen's eyes, and as they talk to each other separately, adding pieces to the story that they know that happened.
Discussing it, figuring it out to the point where they realize, the end of all of this with Stregobor effectively being arrested is not the right outcome here, but it's not as it seems exactly, and it's just really good because in the first instance we just have a little touch of Geralt with Phillipa, and then the next time we come back to it, we see that Phillipa and Geralt really are discussing sides and loyalties more, and that first iteration of it's a conversation with Vildefort in the balcony where it just seems to be Vildefort pointing out Yennefer is sort of meeting her first love Istrid down below. But then when it comes to the final iteration of it, there's much more dark talk from Vildefort's talking about the battle to come, even though this conclave is not supposed to result in that. It's supposed to bring peace.
And he was one of the main supporters of bringing this conclave together, along with Tisea. They were both supporters of Yen bringing the conclave together, and the whole purpose of the conclave is to stop battle in the north and bring all of the mages back together under the banner of brotherhood. So this moment from him of him saying, get ready for the battle to come, and also echoing the opposite conversation that we saw from Dijkstra, about Geralt choosing a side. He needs to choose a side because a battle is coming, This is what starts to eat away at Geralt when everybody's trying to tell him, as they have for centuries at this stage, you need to choose a side. You can't stand going through humanity or going through the continent without picking a side, just taking jobs and fighting off monsters. You need to pick a side because you're a very powerful creature, I guess, in the continent. But he starts to suspect there's something more in the meaning of that as the story unfolds.
I mean, it's just really well done. I mean, it's like with the dance, the melange, and, you see it the first iteration where, there's flirting going on, politics is being discussed and so on, and then you have this fight between Geralt and Istrid. But then by the next iteration, you realize the fight is a ruse between Geralt and Istrid in order to buy time for Yennefer to break into Stregobor's study, into his rooms. And that is all coming from, again, a further iteration where you realize that that conversation that Istredd and Yennefer having, that Vildefort points out as being, well, you never forget your first true love, isn't anything to do about their past relationships. Yeah. It's Istredd informing Yennefer and bringing her to Triss to tell them that Stregobor also has the Book of Monolith. And as I say, leads on with this fight. So it's this whole episode just drips with intrigue that unfolds over each iteration of this walk through of the ball and the feast prior to this conclave, revealing the machinations, and as things come together in Stregobor's study as he's being accused of being the dark mage behind Rience. And so I just
added to that his list of all of the half elven, half humans.
Yes, exactly, who have gone missing, which we saw that Geralt came across with the experiments being done on them in order to try and corrupt Ciri so she can be influenced.
Yeah. In fairness, Stregobor doesn't defend himself very well here. He's like, he kind of says when he gets accused of hating half-bloods as he's written up on his list, he kind of goes, yeah, but he knows I do anyway, so, but that's nothing new. Why are you accusing me of anything bad? Not like, but I didn't do it. It's kind of, he doesn't really justify himself well enough that people would stop accusing him. They don't really give him an opportunity, in fairness.
Yeah, they don't. And to me, it's kind of, Stregobor's response is more kind of, it's just the huffing and puffing. It's like, this is preposterous. Yeah. What are you talking about? You have known that
you've all known him racist. Elves. Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, that I dislike elves and their kind and effectively kind of half-bloods.
Yeah.
That's no secret. So, it's just names. It's just a list of names on paper. What have you got that puts me at that place?
Yeah.
Doing the actual kidnapping, So I find that really, it's more, he feels secure enough in his high position in the Brotherhood at Artusa that he just feels like, this is all bluster and it's preposterous and things will work out. But actually, I think towards the end, he does realize maybe it's more than just simply his known beliefs around half-bloods.
Exactly.
So, really good. I think the other thing here is we also see Lydia, the mage with no voice, and with the illusion covering her destroyed jaw here as well, which also then adds to more of the discussion and reveal that they may, both Yen and Geralt have got it wrong about Stregobor, because she is wearing a piece of jewellery that has the same stones as Tissa's friendship bracelet that Vildefort's had provided.
Yeah.
So as I say, this to me was just fantastic how it played out. It kept me absolutely glued. It, as I say, just really dripped with intrigue and how it unfolded over the course of the episode. So,
absolutely.
Absolutely great stuff from my side.
Yeah, really, really enjoyable scenes. I know you mentioned the bath. Great to see the bath scene as well. Really enjoyed that. I love that Yen calls out almost to the audience, it's been a long time since we've had you in the bath. So they know what their audience want. But I will say the ball itself, everybody looked fantastic. The costumes for every character were so beautiful. Everybody stood out so well. There was a real moment of utter luxury in these scenes. It just really felt like exactly what it's trying to get across, this luxurious experience of all the mages coming together to celebrate and start a potential conclave. But what's going on behind the scenes, as you say, was great. I loved the distracting fight between Istredd and Geralt. Even though the first time you see it, you go, well, that's not possible. There's no way these two would be fighting over Yennefer. That seems really odd. Istredd could be first boyfriend, Geralt, current boyfriend. There has to be something else behind here. And then I love how it plays out with the potentially drunken other mage in the background actually being an additional distraction for the plan that they've enacted. I thought that was really good as well. Great fun here. Really, a really well written episode and a really intriguing episode. Kept me on the edge of my seat the whole time. But my point It does, of course, lead from that, because really the whole episode is that discussion. But my point leads from that, which is the final revelation as they piece everything together themselves and realize, even after effectively imprisoning Stregobor and accusing him of what he's done and finding everything that they've found to indicate that it's him, they realize, actually, hang on a second, it's Vildefort. He's the one behind it all. The first indication for this, for me, was in the accusation for Stregobor, the two people that stand up and say he needs to be removed as head of the organization. The two people that say that are Tissaia and Vildefort. And I was kind of going, oh, maybe there's something here. Maybe they've just planted all the evidence to get rid of him there. So I was suspecting Tissaia more than Vildefort in some sense.
Yeah.
It's kind of going, ooh, the twist here that effectively Yen's closest ally could be the leader here. But we knew the person that was in the lead was male and there was a female with a weird voice. So bringing back Lydia here and showing that potentially she's the other person that's involved. We'd heard that before in the early half of the season. But bringing back that connection between the jewelry that Lydia's wearing and the jewelry that Vildefort has given to Tissaia, both being from the same location and can only be found in one location, then hang on a second, maybe we've accused the wrong person here.
Yeah.
So I love that, even though you went through the whole story, gathering all the information together and got to the point of bringing in Stregobor, who is he's a real panto villain at times. You want to just shout, watch out behind you when he comes on screen a lot of the time. So when he's captured, you kind of go, they're definitely right. Finally, they've got to the bottom of it. Whereas then it twists again. We have another final twist here where it turns out to be Vildefort being the real puppet master behind this.
Yeah, I mean, I really, really enjoyed this. And I think in particular, it was the final iteration with Geralt and Vildefort up on the sort of the balcony around where the dancing and the feasting was taking place.
Yeah.
Again, a bit like with Dijkstra, we're at a pre-conclave feast and celebration for hopefully finding peace. Yet Vildefort, like with Dijkstra, talks about, as you say, Geralt joining a side. I love how Vildefort, is using, well, we're the same.
Ooh, yeah.
I was also an orphan. All this kind of stuff. And, Geralt's just kind of like, doing his usual thing, just really taking everything with a huge mountain of salt, like he did with Dijkstra. But the other thing then that comes back for them to realize it's Vildefort is he talks of that painting, which is of the first landing, that effectively established the Brotherhood soon after.
Yeah.
And that was where Yen was taken by the Dark Portal and attacked by the illusion of Geralt.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm right that that's where the stones for the jewelry came from as well.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's, I just loved that because I felt we got a real meaty amount of time with Vildefort here. And I thought that was really important. And I think it being with Geralt as well, because you could see he's trying to sort of, smooth talk Geralt here. And, it ultimately doesn't work in that way.
Yes.
But it was a really good scene to see him sort of trying to be this puppet master and still trying to enact and get things moving in a way that he wants. So this was really, really good. And yes, the fact that then they realize it's Vildefort, but by this stage, it's the following morning. And as they go to try and find him, then Dijkstra has already enacted his plan as he thinks it's going to play out by striking a coup on the Brotherhood and Artusa.
Yes.
And ultimately, that's where we leave it. So it's a really good sort of ending to finish for those first 5 episodes as well, with the little anxious wait now for the 28th of July.
Yeah. And at least we didn't have to have that wait.
No, exactly.
So we can go straight into it on our next episode. Any notes about this episode that you want to talk about, John? Anything else that you want to call out about the episode?
Yeah, the only note I've got is just that the wine was laced with an aphrodisiac. So whether that accounts for any of the shenanigans happening between Geralt and Yennefer. Certainly Yennefer was drinking it, but Geralt, I think, had one until he was warned by Philippa that there was an aphrodisiac in it, and then he immediately put it down. So,
and I wouldn't try the food either.
Yeah, because that's just an illusion. Exactly. Yeah. So I think Geralt's "I love you" was absolutely genuine.
Absolutely.
And of course,
and a kiss in front of everyone. They finally step out together for the first time.
So I think it was, a good idea, whoever it was, though, to put the aphrodisiac into the wine.
Absolutely.
Any notes from yourself, Derek?
I just love the kind of running theme, the phrase that's said of in love with the poison that kills you. It comes from Philippa about Tissaia, that she's in love with the poison that kills you. And this is another thing that forms into that reasoning as to the fact that it's Vilgeforce that could be controlling Tissaia. I just love that phrase. That was really nice.
I also liked the fact that, Philippa and Tissaia's relationship and friendship and how that soured also kind of was gradually brought out in this episode, and also with episode 6 as well, around her not joining the Brotherhood at the big Battle of Sodden.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. That was really cool. Little point. Speaking of Philippa, an interesting one here. She apologizes to Geralt for the death of Fen and Codrigar.
Yeah.
And the reaction from Geralt, she realizes, oh, hang on a second, you didn't even know they were dead.
Yeah.
Really like that moment between the two of them, that he's kind of going on, oh, hang on a second, how did I get them killed almost, is when you see it, even though, he's a bit unemotive, is old Geralt, so you can't exactly tell what his reaction is, but I'm sure that will get under his skin a bit.
Yeah, I must say, I really enjoyed Dijkstra and Philippa in this as well, and to be honest, all the way through this season so far, I've really enjoyed this power spy couple.
Absolutely.
To be honest.
Absolutely.
And it played out just really in a way that you would expect from those two, which was, the Machiavellian type approach. And I just really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that was really cool. Last one for me then, just to mention, also really liked Stregobor's butterfly security.
Yeah.
So very impressive. How Yen didn't know that the butterfly that was sitting on the door she was about to open, that only started to flap its wings and flew away when she came in, isn't magic telling her that Stregobor is on his way? I don't know. That would be my instant thought if I was in the world of magic. That butterfly is definitely security being called.
Yeah, definitely.
But good stuff. Good stuff overall. Really enjoyed the episode. It's one of my favorites so far this season, and I think the structure of it makes it probably one of my favorite episodes of TV that I've watched this year. It's just a really unusual way to tell the story, and a really interesting way to tell the story.
And it worked so well. Yeah. No, me too. Really enjoyed this episode. I would give it 5 frolicking festivities out of 5. I really, really did enjoy it. It just kept me glued. And each time I watched it, it was just like really good. So, thought this was a fantastic one. And I think it's primarily around how it was structured in terms of the teleplay, and how it just kept that intrigue. People talk about intrigue from episode to episode, leave it on a cliffhanger, and this was just this slow peeling back of it.
Absolutely.
At like different 3 points throughout this episode. Yeah. And it really made the episode refreshing but done in a way.
And they also left it on a cliffhanger too.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just really good, because why is that fight happening between Istredd and Geralt? And then you find out a bit later in the episode as it comes back, and just more of the rich dialogue coming out and the reasons for why actions had happened in the first one. So really excellent stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. As I say, this is kind of how the first whole season was structured. That was the whole concept of how Geralt became committed to Ciri. That was all structured in things of flashbacks, all wrapping up at the end of the season by the reveal that the law of surprise meant that he is forever bound to Ciri. And they even mentioned that in this episode. You even hear Yen calling out that previous ball where it ended off with the hedgehog groom. So good stuff. Yeah, really well constructed. Really, really good. Let's pop on over to some feedback for this episode.
Absolutely. First, on episode 5, we have an email in from Coffee and Vodka who says, "Greeting fellow dance floor defenders. Instead of the Red Wedding I was expecting, we got Rashomon Mission Impossible. A surprise, if nothing else. I was neither surprised nor disappointed, however, in the reveal of the big baddie. What with so many candidates? Who was your prime candidate? With only a couple of weeks until the second half of the season, I'm curious as to the next overriding plot, as well how they plan to pull off the change in Geralt's appearance. Hope you've enjoyed the season thus far, and thanks for the podcast and community it's created. 3.5 are Tooza's crowd, yumping Yennefers, and railroaded racists out of 5. Peace and take care, Coffee and Vodka." Who was my prime candidate? I don't think there was much of a surprise for myself either. I think Vilgefortz definitely. But I do have to say, even though we knew Lydia was the woman with the strange voice, I still was unsure about Tissaya's
Absolutely.
involvement here, whether she was a willing accomplice or whether she was being hoodwinked effectively by Vilgefortz.
I was going to say my sights weren't pointed directly at Vilgefortz, but by association with Tissaia, I thought the two of them were in it. And I think there's also another line when they find the Book of Monoliths, and Tissaia kind of picks it up and goes, oh my God, this is the one that could restore the world to a time before elves. Well, I'll just take that for safekeeping so nobody else can get their hands on it. I was going, oh, hang on a second. Was this her plan all along to get her copy of the book? So I think I was probably aiming towards Tissaia, but I'm not surprised it's Vilgefortz. It does make sense. We had called out earlier on in the season about that moment back when we met him first, where he killed one of his own men, and we were always wondering what was up with Vilgefortz. So I'm not surprised by it. I was kind of going, oh, maybe it is Stregobor though. They plotted it very well that I would have been satisfied with Stregobor being the big evil bad guy. Yeah. But I like this one more, somebody working behind the scenes that isn't as flamboyant, let's say, as Stregobor.
Yeah,
I think that's that. I think that's the right choice. And thanks so much for your thoughts as well, Coffee and Vodka, and not as long to wait to see what happens for the rest of the series, because now all the other 3 episodes are available, and not long to hear our thoughts, since we'll be talking about episode 6 in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Also over on Facebook, we got a message from Dr. Bob Phillips.
Yes, Dr. Bob says, formal balls. Like Geralt, I had no chance of remembering the names, but did think that Yennefer looked very lovely. I think I had slightly more musicality than our grunting hunk, though. Really enjoyed the swirling spiral telling of the story. It reminded me of time loop tales. Glad the detectives got there in the end, and while Stregobor is a nasty, kidnapping, child-torturing, racist scumbag, it's the unreformed Vilgefortz who's working with our lyric lady Lydia to disrupt the worlds. Ooh, just a couple of weeks until Volume 2, just in time for me hauls.
Excellent stuff there, Dr. Bob. Yeah. Hope you have made it on your hauls at this stage. And yes, I think with Stregobor, yes, absolutely, he's nasty. Yes, he is a child-torturing racist scumbag, but I don't think he was the kidnapper. Or dare I say it, the torturer. I think that was Vilgefortz.
Yes, I think that's all Vilgefortz.
So
yes. He's just an evil, evil man.
Yes.
And not particularly responsible for this crime.
No, well, that's true. He may be responsible for others.
Probably responsible for
I think he would certainly give them a clip round the ear, but he wasn't involved in sort of melding them into the thing like sort of monster.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or the experiments on the kidnapped girls.
Yeah, I do wonder if his list of half elf, half human attendees at the school, I wonder if that was being used by other people to target the girls. So was Vilgefortz using that specific list to target the girls, or
I think it's more that
did everybody know?
I think it's more that Vilgefortz, and I think we get this in the next episode, in episode 6, that playing with people's preconceived notions of other people, like Stregobor, or indeed their own character, like he says to Tissaia in episode 6, then I think he played those like a piano.
Well, that sounds like a good way to take our little break and pop on over to our discussion about episode 6.
Yeah, thanks so much for the feedback, Dr. Bob.
Thanks, Dr. Bob.
Why? This is our home.
No, Tisea. This is your home. I don't care who sacks it. I have my own aims, and they no longer include you.
How could you?
Stregobor with his pride was easy to set up, and you, with your undying trust, were easy to fool.
Good stuff. We're back after our short break to talk about episode 6 of season 3 of The Witcher. Everyone has a plan till they're punched in the face.
Love the title.
Yes, one of my favourite titles. Comes from an interview with Mike Tyson, where he was asked about was he concerned about fighting Evander Holyfield by a reporter. And that's the line he came out with. Well, everybody has a plan until they're punched in the face. So it's been used many times since then. It's such a great encapsulation of the idea of walking into the unknown and thinking you have a plan until someone punches you in the face and you have to react to that plan.
Absolutely.
Right? Good stuff. The show, of course, is based on the book series by Andrzej Sapkowski and the game series from CD Projekt Red with showrunner Lauren Smith-Hisrich, of course, and this episode once again directed by Lonnie Peristri. And this episode was written by Javi Grillo-Marxuach, and that's a very interesting writer. Do you know why, John?
Go on.
Just going back to all of our time on TV podcast industries, there's one writer that interacted with us more than any other writer, a writer from the wonderful Agent Carter, Jose Molina.
Yes.
Javi is his podcast partner.
Excellent
on the
stuff.
excellent industry-centric podcast Children of Tendu. If you ever want to know how to be a screenwriter, go check that out. Really, really interesting stories from behind the scenes. Javi was a writer on Lost back in 2004, a very, very well celebrated writer on Lost, and has lots of stories to share about his time on Lost, including some that were just recently revealed in a very explosive book about behind the scenes in the industry. Those came from Javi. So,
excellent.
So they're very interesting. He's a really interesting podcaster as well. He's got a lot of time for bringing up people who start out in writer's room and how they get to the kind of level he's at the moment. Very recently, he wrote 2 episodes of the TV show From as well, which has been a really interesting horror-filled sci-fi show.
Yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, it's been really good. So great to see Javi over here working on The Witcher as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Can definitely tell it as well. You know, really, and again, thoroughly enjoyed this episode.
Yeah. Brilliant stuff. John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for episode 6 of The Witcher season 3? Everyone has a plan till they're punched in the face.
Sure. With Geralt taken prisoner, bloodshed and betrayal rocks Aretuza as the Redanian soldiers led by Dijkstra and Phillipa, along with several northern mages, strike a coup to arrest mages led by Vilgefortz who collaborated with Nilfgaard. Mm-hmm. Not believing the accusations levelled at her lover, Tisea frees the apprehended mages and Vilgefortz, where he reveals his conniving, plotting and betrayal to Tisea as he lets an invading force of elven Scoia'tael led by Cahir and Queen Francesca to reclaim Aretuza. The hunt for Ciri comes to a head as Vilgefortz, the elves and the Redanians all seek to find Ciri for their own purposes. A bloody battle erupts between the League of Nilfgaardian and Scoia'tael forces and the Northern Mages, as many are killed on both sides, including Filavandrel and Artorius. Elsewhere, Geralt, Ciri and Yennefer are briefly reunited, trying to get Ciri to safety, but after surviving an attack by Rience, who is killed and decapitated by Geralt, Yennefer must go to help her Artusian brothers and sisters. Yennefer joins her weakened mentor Tisea at the battle after she has cast a devastating spell of last resort, leaving Aretuza ruined, while the last few mages are saved by Stregobor, who sacrifices himself using fire magic to stop the remaining forces from finishing them off. Meanwhile, Geralt and Ciri are confronted by Cahir, who has an epiphany, realizing he has been used and lied to for long enough. Asking for forgiveness from Ciri, he pledges to defend her as he fights off Scoia'tael hunting Ciri and Geralt. As they both make their way to the shore to escape by boat, something feels wrong, and Geralt commands Ciri to run. She runs back towards Aretuza and the Tower of Torlara, as Vilgefortz confronts Geralt. The Dark Mage shows expert combat prowess and defeats Geralt, allowing him to pursue Ciri. Half dead and bleeding out, a lucky Geralt is found by Triss, who takes him to Broclion. At Tor Lara, just before Vilgefortz can capture her, Ciri taps into the power of the monolith contained in the tower, unleashing a devastating explosion which destroys the tower. Nothing on the continent will ever be the same again.
Absolutely. Well, Aretusa will never be the same
It
again.
certainly won't. I mean, it's completely wrecked.
Absolutely. Destroyed everything about it as well. Yeah.
Absolutely, completely wrecked. I mean, quite frankly, Tissaia by the end of this episode looks like she's had a massive hangover from the festivities the night before.
Yeah.
She looks absolutely destroyed and spent as well.
And she goes full on white as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ages several decades there in a moment.
I guess whatever about fire magic taking something from you, I guess the spell of last resort that she casts, or the incantation of last resort, I can't remember what it's called.
Alzur's Thunder.
Yeah, I guess
Summons. Yes.
that takes a lot out of you as well, I guess.
Definitely.
Oh, what an episode. Where are we going to start with our big moments from episode 6, John?
Yeah, well, Derek, I think we should begin with you. What's your big moment?
I'm going to steal the big battle of Aretusa and all of the copious amounts of deaths of major characters that we have in this episode. It's a fantastically staged battle. I was watching it the second time, and it's really interesting. Some characters are fighting with swords, some characters are fighting with magic, and it's really interesting how much power the actors are getting across with the magic that they're using. And it does look like they're brandishing weapons versus swords on the other side, even when they're effectively just pushing their hands towards somebody. But they've done a really good job of making this look so dynamic and so powerful as a battle between all of these different groups that are in here. You know, the initial mages that are trying to defend Aretusa versus the Scoia'tael, who are brought in by Vilgefortz, and the other group, which is the people that thought they were going to be easily able to sack this conclave of mages with led by Dijkstra and Phillipa. You know, they had the upper hand to begin with. You know, we saw the end of last episode where Dijkstra had captured Geralt, and Geralt had now we see him putting down his sword and going willingly with Dijkstra, as everybody else in the castle who isn't already on their side is being captured and forced into this secure room, taken away, and as they lay out their plan for taking over Aretusa and getting rid of the Brotherhood of Mages. So that seemed like they had the upper hand to begin with, and all it took was Tissaia to come in and free them all, and then that in itself, that step unleashes hell on Aretusa. You know, this whole battle is kicked off in that moment, and not only does Tissaia lose Aretusa here, she also loses her lover in the worst way. Vilgefortz himself is saying, I just used your love and trust of other people against you.
Yes.
Like, I use everything against everybody else. I know how people work, and I use it against them.
Well, that's it. He says to say, your undying trust was easy to fool. I mean, it's a real punch in the gut. And like, just, you know, those moments, that reveal is just really, really good. Yeah. You know, his objectives are just different, because, I mean, it's not even that he hangs around to extract revenge on Dijkstra and Phillipa. I love the fact that after Tissaia sort of unbinds all the mages that have been accused of aligning with Nilfgaard, because Dijkstra and Phillipa have got the evidence of portals opening up between Aretusa and Nilfgaard. It's just, there's two elements of this. I think it's just that, you know, the point that Vilgefortz's plan is something different. Yep. Not even necessarily bigger, although it arguably is as well. But it's just, you know, he takes down some soldiers just simply to get out of the room so he can do his plan. He's not worried about this minutiae. And similarly, you know, I love just the response of Dijkstra as it all effectively goes belly up. He's kind of like, right, I'm out of here, and walks off, like, following Geralt. And Geralt's the same, really. It's just like, I'm not dealing with this sort of minutiae of fighting Redanian soldiers or whatever. I've got to go. My bigger plan is to protect Ciri.
Exactly.
I need to get Ciri. Dijkstra's is, okay, this isn't really working out. I'm at least going to get myself to safety, even though we know, despite his kind of bureaucratic look, he's probably quite nifty with a blade.
Yeah, true. I think he picks his battles as much as he can, and he could sense with the tide turning against him pretty quickly. So I'm out of there. Yeah.
Well, he picks the wrong one with Geralt, who effectively breaks his arm and his leg, and I do love that moment where Phillipa comes in to save him because he is about to be stabbed by one of the mages.
Yeah.
And she comes in, her owl form sort of scratches the face off the guy, and then as she's helping Dijkstra up and down the stairs, she goes, "We've got a long way to go. It's a good job you like pain," because we've seen her sort of whipping him before.
Exactly.
That was a nice little touch.
It was. But in the battle itself, as I said, we lose a couple of quite major characters. You mentioned some of them in the synopsis there. We lose Francesca's husband, who's been really protective of her in probably the most brutal looking scene we've seen this season, as he steps in the way before she loses her head and explodes all over her. From that point onwards, Francesca does not hold back.
She doesn't, but it takes Fringilla, who has also accompanied them, to snap her out of it effectively, because she is absolutely shell-shocked here. It's almost like the Battle of the Somme, and with all the bloodshed, in particular with Phillipa and Geralt being her husband, the king, effectively, that in that moment, it could have been lost. She may have just simply not had that motivation to carry on, but it's to Fringilla stepping in and telling her, you need to snap out of it.
Exactly.
And lead. As well as protecting her against her own uncle as well. Yeah. So I think, you're right. I think that is, it's in that moment of the battle where things could have been lost, dare I say it, sooner for the Scoia'tael and the elves. Yeah. But they fight on and manage to regroup, and she manages to trap them in the courtyard.
Yeah, exactly. You're totally right to mention Frangilla's impact, I suppose, on this side. So again, we have another situation here in the continent. We have the Brotherhood of Mages as one group of mages, then Phillipa on another side as another mage, aligned with a side, and Fringilla now aligned with the Scoia'tael. So mages versus mages, not all members of the Brotherhood, and all those powers coming out and fighting off against each other. It's also to mention, we do lose Arturius in this episode. Fringilla's uncle is killed here as well.
Yeah, by Fringilla.
By Fringilla, exactly, saying farewell, uncle.
Yeah, I mean, he was. Yeah, you have to say, or some of the mages screaming that take out Francesca now while she's still in shell shock, effectively. Exactly. And you see this knife, but it heads and stabs Artorius in the heart. Yes. And that's from Fringilla. Actually, Fringilla has a number of key moments in this episode, both with Francesca and killing Artorius, but also what she says to Kahir, as well, as Kahir's being told to go out and find Ciri. She says, it's amazing what you can do when you think for yourself.
Exactly.
Which leads to Kahir's kind of, as I described in the summary, this kind of epiphany that he has been taken advantage of and lied to for far too long, and actually his destiny hasn't been within his own control. And in this moment, he realizes, whilst he can't be forgiven for what he did to her family and chasing her around the continent, he asks for her forgiveness, whether that is forgiveness or forgiveness at the point of her blade. Yes. And death. And when she doesn't do that, he pledges to find her again and to protect her effectively.
And arguably Ciri was pretty close. She said to him, you've taken everything from me. This whole entire path that she's been on really has been because of Kahir and what he did, and what he was, because he was sent to look for her. So he does head off to stop the Scoia'tael that are coming down. So I suspect we're going to see him back in the future, and now possibly as a protector of Ciri, another protector for Ciri. So that's quite interesting. We also lose the oldest mage in Artusa. He may not have died, but he was having a heart attack.
He looked like he was on the way out, but he could have survived.
He could have.
Sure.
And kind of adjacent to the battle, we lose another one of the biggest characters for the show so far. We lose Rience, which was a real shocker, but a fantastically put together scene as Yen and Ciri are getting away. Yen's carrying Geralt's sword, which he left behind, and when Rience tells her to put it down, she throws it over his head to Geralt, and awaiting Geralt, who takes the head from his shoulders. Certainly wasn't expecting him to go out like that.
No, I wasn't. And interestingly, just before he dies, he indicates that he's not working for Vilgefortz anymore. You know, Yen says, you know, your master has been unmasked.
Yes.
And he's like, I'm not effectively working for him anymore, because we had that moment, where Rience is questioning why, his master, I think he's speaking to Lydia at the time, is working with Nilfgaard. So Rience is against Nilfgaard here.
Yes.
And feels there is a betrayal by Vilgefortz of his dealings with Nilfgaard, even though she said working with them is not the same as aligning with them.
Exactly. Yeah.
That was kind of at least, okay, it's his last words. But interestingly, he was taking it on himself to do. Now we'll never know, I guess, what that plan may be.
Well, the show does mess around with time to explain things that we may not have seen before. So I feel like we may see Rience back. But interestingly, again, another character that you would have thought is the big bad of the show, being taken out like this here because the real big bad has been revealed in Vilgefortz. So I thought that was an interesting choice and a real surprise in that moment, because we didn't get a massive showdown between Geralt versus Rience versus Ciri versus Yen. It felt like a little standoff and then heads gone.
Well, it was a shock, because Geralt was hidden from view of the audience, let alone Rience.
Exactly.
So, really, I kind of quite liked it. It felt like, you know, he's kind of felt like this big bad, but actually, again, he's just another pawn to Vilgefortz.
Exactly.
In the wider scheme of things. So I really enjoyed that. We also have, I think, the death of Stregobor, who uses fire magic to basically, I mean, he is aiming it at Fringilla and Francesca, but we see them later, so they have survived it. So maybe Fringilla was able to put up a shield, like we see
I think so,
her doing when Tissaia does the Alzor's Thunder and that spell of last resort. So, you know, Fringilla is really being the bodyguard here for Francesca. But Stregobor, you just see him being consumed by flame with the Scoia'tael in the courtyard.
Yes.
Now, you think, like with Yennefer, he probably would survive that.
Maybe.
But it's interesting, even though he's never liked Yennefer, it's to Yennefer that he says, I will buy you some time.
Yeah, that's true.
And take, you know, and burn these elves to hell, you know. So I mean, he's unleashing his rage and fire magic on elves that he has never liked.
That's true. That's true. That does sound like final words, though. It does sound like he's redeeming himself after the accusations in the last episode, and the accusations that were, as we said, not technically to do with the actual crime that they're investigating, but all the accusations were pretty much true. So, so I think it feels like he is trying to redeem himself. But as you say, it is against elves, so he's maybe taking an opportunity here. If he's going to sacrifice himself, why not take out hundreds of elves with him as well? Yeah. So
we don't quite know whether he's survived or not. I mean, the other interesting thing in this battle is that, you know, Dijkstra rounding up the mages, it is primarily mages that have sympathies towards Nilfgaard. So there are other mages there with grey armbands on, seen as allies. But because of this treason by the mages in the Brotherhood. It's, as Phillipa says, it's in a sense not a coup. The Brotherhood to some degree will remain, but it's a purge. It could just be that it's Northern mages that are aligned with them because they are, Redania is Northern and they're fighting Nilfgaard. So,
because we did see one of the mages that was aligned was, the one that owned the shop that Yen and Ciri went into. And so we know that she was in the north.
And you see them later where even though they've got some have got the grey armbands on, they rip them off and say, you know, we're here to fight. We can deal with
this tomorrow.
But we're protecting our home, Aretusa and the Brotherhood. And that's kind of Tesea's thing, you know, this is her home. So her use of this spell of last resort is to try and protect it, but there is so much damage, from Francesca going psycho, as well after the death of, Filavandrel. So Aretusa's not looking particularly healthy at the moment.
It's not. But was awesome to watch.
It was really good to watch.
Really, really enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed it. It felt like a significant shift in the world of the continent.
Definitely. But so much death and destruction happening in this scene, in this moment. That's why it felt so epic. It felt like they could pretty much take out any of the secondary characters, let's say, outside of our main three. They could take out any of the secondary characters.
Well, I mean, and they did. I mean, even the archers, the elven archers, had their tips of their arrows, and I think it's Dijkstra, which can penetrate through the force fields.
Went straight through to say force field or
so it was like they
shields,
had, it was that they had to deflect the arrows and get the archers rather than just simply being able to put up a force field of magic. So, you know, I like that little sort of aspect to it as well. You know, I think, it was really, really good. Again, as I say, I think Tesea here, just that look of being lost and betrayed and dejected, was just really well played. You know, again, a shell shock about it.
Exactly,
And Yennefer sort of realizing she needs to go and help her fellow mages and sorcerers, in particular Tesea.
Something that's so important to her. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was my big moment from the episode, John. You've got the other massive moment from the episode as well, I think.
Oh, absolutely. It is the battle between Vilgefortz and Geralt. You know, I just have to say off the top, you know, you had this huge sort of battle taking place in Aretusa, but I loved all the stuff around it, such as with Kahir and Ciri, with Yennefer, Geralt, Rience, and Ciri, and then Geralt, you know, realizing they need to get away from here. You know, that's his plan. And going down to the beach to get to the boats, that the Skirtel had arrived on. But that moment where he effectively, you know, his sense that something's not right and tells her to run. Just the start of this even, where he's creeping around this kind of cave in the rocks where the boats are, this kind of little sort of, harbour, within an alcove of the rocks. And then he comes out and you have Vilgefortz there. And I just thought this entire battle was really, really great. I mean, I loved Vilgefortz's staff. I loved how that was portrayed, so cool. Where it kind of sort of dissipated and then reappeared to stop Geralt. And his use of it, you know, just showing that prowess that he has. You know, he says himself, you know, the worst was having to hold things back and not reveal my true self.
Having to pretend that I wasn't good at this.
You know, but all the time as well, you get the sense that he's still trying to get Geralt on board with him, at least to begin with. And then when he realizes Geralt is not for turning, then, you know, he just presses his advantage with this fantastic staff. Such a great concept. Geralt is badly injured here. I mean, you really feel that staff sort of being whacked by Vilgefortz against his leg and breaking it. And he doesn't kill him, which may prove to be his undoing in the future and a huge mistake. But, it's this sense of, we've had all through this season that this, shadowy dark mage controlling Rience, that he knows so many different aspects of magic, illusion, all this kind of stuff, as well as, this corrupting portals, that it's more than just one element of magic that he has been able to master. And so that sense of invincibility that you get from Vilgefortz, is really, really good in this conversation between the two of them. And I just really enjoyed
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Yeah. Yeah. And it's also a big thing for our major character, the Witcher.
Yeah.
The show's named after Geralt the Witcher. So it's such a big thing to see him getting beaten by somebody. We've seen him getting hurt and bruised and damaged and, battered many times in the show.
Comprehensively.
But usually comes back pretty quickly. Yeah.
And I like the fact that, before Vilgefortz realizes that he's not able to pull Geralt over to be his partner on to his side, it almost feels like that an extrapolation, a continuation of that conversation that they have around the balcony from episode 5. And that's what I thought was a really nice tie-in there. And I just thought this was great. I really want to see, it's a real shame for me, actually, that Henry Cavill won't be the Witcher at the end of this series, because I just actually really liked these two together.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely. The chalk and cheese element of, the Witcher is a man of few words, and Vilgefortz is this, feels like this learned mage. And I just loved how they interacted here. It was really good, because you felt Geralt could have the upper hand with this guy, and then in the end, all his moves are blocked by that awesome staff. Yeah. And then he just gets beaten down. Yep. He gets sort of almost stabbed by it in the shoulder, his leg's done, he uses magic against him. And so this was really a fantastic one-on-one battle to me, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah. But remember, we do have 2 more episodes to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
You never know. We've had an entire battle between 2 armies here in Aretusa in this one episode. So you never know. We could see, that battle between the two of them close out the season.
Absolutely. But with him beating Geralt, he does go after Ciri here. Yes. And, I love it as he comes into the Tower of Tor Lara and he says, please let me help you. He's kind of pleading, and he comes in. I loved how Ciri is there standing at the monolith as this text is going across it, and it's beginning to vibrate and glow. And she's just kind of internalizing, I guess, this kind of knowledge, communication of what these monoliths mean, how it relates to the power that she and that everyone has saying potentially exists within her. And she just says, I understand. It's like she's speaking to the monolith, and you see Vilgefortz come up the stairs, and he's vibrating as well. You just get the different lapses. It's just some really good sort of TV here. I felt
really good filmmaking, really interesting seeing, as you say, different versions of Vilgefortz coming in through the door. It's like 3 of them meeting up together, and the last one's talking as the first one's ending a sentence.
Just really good design and production, and
really cool. But again, it's Ciri's communing with the monolith. Yeah, I was thinking of Chucky from the 80s TV show.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like that as the kids are able to communicate with the space being. Just reminded me of that, but. He's trying to help her out because he studied it. He has a plan for what he wants to do with the monoliths, and she's able to walk in there and communicate with it. We don't know what's going to happen off the back of it, but he's worried that if he doesn't get his hands into Ciri, she will do something that she doesn't know how.
Exactly.
Or hasn't trained for.
Exactly. I mean, he says you're not ready for this kind of power,
Yes.
but it's all too late as this monolith is activated, I guess, to some extent.
It's such an interesting refrain around Ciri from season 1, the fact that she is now a witcher, but she's a very powerful witcher already. She's very, very good in battle. We've seen that this season.
Yeah.
She's a great mage. She has innate power in her, but can't control the powers that Yen is trying to teach her to use.
Yeah.
And now we are again, third element here. She's here using the monolith, and potentially she could destroy the world, or she could bring about the wild hunt from another plane by her interacting with the monolith and not having the experience or not having the training to use it.
Well, that's it. And interestingly, to your point around big deaths, I mean, I know that Ciri hasn't just died in that huge explosion, but I mean, has Vilgefortz, or is Ciri and Vilgefortz somehow been pulled into the monolith, like we sort of began to understand through the Witcher Blood Origins spin-off.
Yeah. And with their interaction with a monolith in the past, where they saw the wild hunt.
So, this is really good because that's been brought now to the continent, as it is in the Witcher, in the Witcher series. So, I can't wait to have a look at episodes 7 and 8 now for sure.
I'm really glad we've split down the season into 2 episodes each time. So we don't have to wait a massive amount of time. We can watch the 2 of them back to back and know what happens at the end of the season.
I thought Vilgefortz was great here. I loved how he, really sort of rained on Tissaya's parade here. I mean, just even letting in the elves and then just using our own character against her and how he used and abused that. We also do see him, we see Istredd getting the Book of Monoliths from one of the rooms, and Vilgefort basically catches him doing it and says, I'll have that, and I need you, and pushes him just through a dark portal to where we don't know.
It's just, I'll keep you for later.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly.
No pretense now anymore with him about his powers, what he can actually do. I really like that. And it'll be intriguing to see what happens with Istredd and the Book of Monoliths, coming up. Any notes about the episode? Anything we may have glossed over, anything we may have missed in the episode, John, that you want to quickly talk about?
The only one is the whole love relationship between Radovid and Jaskier is not there. And I really enjoyed Jaskier saying, I thought I'd seen through your mask, but actually there was nothing behind it. This is what you are. I knew what you were, I thought there was something more behind it. But ultimately you've tried to kidnap, Ciri here, and you've betrayed my affections. So, but
there's the other side of the conversation there as well. So
there is
Prince Radovid saying, okay, I see how this looks. I was trying to take Ciri because I genuinely believe that the best place for her is Redania.
Yeah.
But all the affections and our night that we spent together, none of that was me pretending so I could get closer to Ciri, is what he said to him. So, I don't know. I think there's still potential there with the two of them. There is
potential, but I think Radovid has got a lot of making up to do here.
He certainly does.
The other thing that we should have mentioned is, Yen runs to go and rescue Ciri, but is attacked by Lydia in the sort of tunnels.
Yes, she is.
And I think Lydia has also, dare I say it, gone to the sorcerer heaven or hell, I guess.
I had to rewind that scene twice because I just missed the snap of her neck that Yen does. It seems it's very final.
It looks
It looks like Yen has just gone, I'm not even dealing with this anymore. He's very powerful. Lydia's very powerful and is able to take on Yen pretty well, but with the help of Triss, they're able to stop her. And, it does seem like there's a final snap of the neck. So we won't see Lydia back, in future either. So we've taken Rience and Lydia both off the board as we exposed, Vilgefortz. So now really the two big bads are Ciri's dad, the White Flame, in Nilfgaard and Vilgefortz now.
Yeah. Although Dijkstra is still around.
Dijkstra's hobbling his way back up north. So I suspect that he may be
licking his
down
wounds.
and licking his wounds for a while.
Down and out for a while.
Or at least they have to get out past Toralara before they're able to cast a portal to get them back up north. So it's not that long a walk. They're not walking the entire length of the continent, thankfully, for him. But at least he likes pain. I do want to mention just one other quick note from Dijkstra as well. I really liked that moment when he's looking out the window at the ships coming in, and he references the messenger that was killed with the arrow through his throat, saying, "Wow, I didn't expect him to deliver it this well. I should double his pay," because he thinks that all the ships that are coming in are the reinforcements that he called for, but they're not. They turn out to
and
be.
he later says, "I chose badly." He thought he'd actually been betrayed by the messenger.
Exactly.
And so, interesting.
Yeah.
I also liked just how Geralt was so casual after being brought in by Dijkstra into the room with all the mages, sort of, and they're accusing Vilderforts of, in effect, Vilderforts is in the crosshairs of Redania for something completely different than what he's actually doing.
Exactly.
But as Geralt says, he says, "I don't believe the accusations are unfounded here," and then he talks about there's an unusual fog in the bay. It's like, he again is just the not choosing the side. And I love how he says, "Why is my neutrality such a bother to everyone?"
Yes.
It's really well kind of done by Henry Cavill here.
Oh,
and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is one of those moments from Dijkstra where he's kind of going, "Look, I'm presenting all of the evidence in front of you. Now choose the side, and mine's the side that you should be choosing." And he's effectively going, "You don't have all the evidence. You don't have it all right.
Yeah.
You do have some accusations that are probably true, but that doesn't mean I'm going to change the habit of a lifetime and join you. You're not the right side for me, basically."
Exactly.
Another excellent Henry Cavill moment. Good stuff. I think that's it for this episode. Episode 6.
Yes, that's everything from me.
Overall, any final thoughts on the episode? What do you think overall of episode 6?
Again, I absolutely loved this. Really thoroughly enjoyed it. And I loved that actually we watched them through 5 and 6 back to back. Again, I would give this 5 Aretusas ablazing out of 5. Or 5 hellish hangovers. Yeah, I just really enjoyed the thrust of it. It just felt epic, momentous. It really pushed the story along. It was done in such a good way. The Battle of Aretusa felt meaningful.
Yeah.
People lost their lives. I mean, how many times do we do shows where we say, there was no real consequences or you didn't feel anyone was really under threat? Here, huge numbers potentially have died that are meaningful characters like Stregobor, Phillipa and Geralt, all these different people, Lydia, and, then Vilderforts and Geralt's personal fight was just, felt epic as well. And I hope they bring his staff along for another fight at some point, because that was a really good bit of, concept design and execution of it. I thought it was really cool.
If it's not gone in Toralara, of course.
Yeah.
As that Alistair exploded.
But they can't have gotten rid of Vilderforts.
Can you imagine?
Just can't.
Can you imagine?
I don't know the book, so they may have done.
Yeah. No, I would doubt it. It would seem unusual, but I guess we'll see when we get into episode 7 and 8.
And I mean, ultimately, game changing. Ciri has tapped in, is understanding her potential power and how that relates to the monoliths.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is a game changer on the continent. And, to the point of before around The Witcher Blood Origins, it's really good having that spin-off.
Yeah.
Just the little snippets of information around the monoliths, because it feels like it gives this so much more weight.
Yeah.
So yeah, really good. 5 Aretusas ablaze out of 5.
Excellent stuff. In total agreement with you. This is another great episode. I probably preferred 5 because of the structure of it, but this is such a great battle episode to kick us off into the final half of the season. Great stuff. Let's pop it over and hear some thoughts from our wonderful fellow Witchers. We got an email in from Coffee and Vodka on episode 6 who says, "Greetings, fellow Endgame defenders. Never has an episode been more aptly titled. Looks like what comes after unmasking the mystery baddie is dealing with him, his goals, and the chaos he brings. Vilgeforce is anything but the paper tiger I'd expected, besting all sides and aspects, including Geralt. Wow, indeed. We knew it was coming to a battle royale, but that they took my expectations and, like the title said, punched me in the face with them. And in the end, to have Ciri turn the tables like that, brilliant. Can't wait to hear you all make sense of the long build-up carnage that was this episode. In the meantime, to get to the next one to see what happens after it all goes to an unplanned shit. Easily one of my favourite Witcher episodes to date, even after all the build-up. Loved the ironically quick ending of Rience. 5 fiery, racist, sorceress retorts, unreserved last resorts, and Geralt attacks out of 5. Peace and take care. Coffee and Vodka."
Excellent stuff. Yeah, I totally with you there, Coffee and Vodka, around the quick ending of Rience.
Yeah.
It felt, actually, it put someone that was up there as a big bad effectively in his place as just being simply a puppet of the wider machinations and cogs that are going on in this world.
Exactly.
You know, in a sense, he is inconsequential.
Yeah.
To some extent. Certainly now that he's cut his ties with his former boss.
Cut his throat. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Lost his head at his former boss. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, excellent stuff. Glad you enjoyed this one, Coffee and Vodka. I hope we made some sense of the episode as well for you. There was so much going on in the battles themselves and how much we've lost. But I do agree with you. This is one of the best episodes of The Witcher so far, but you can't do episodes like this without the build-up, of course. And exactly as you said, that kind of long, slow build-up to something like this where you have a battle of 3 sides in this iconic location from the show has so much more to it because of what we've seen before. Everybody thinking that they're the smart ones that will have a plan to overthrow their enemies, and then, all stuck in a room firing bolts and punches and knives and everything at each other. And whoever comes out, who's the victor, I guess. I have no idea. No idea who the actual victor here is other than Vilgeforce, and he's in a collapsing tower right now. So, yeah. Yeah,
and potentially Emir in Nilfgaard, because he's...
True. Yes. He's not there.
He's not there.
But he's just lost his
right-hand man.
His right-hand man, Cahir has turned his back on him and turned away from
Definitely.
him. So, but he doesn't know that yet. So.
Good stuff. Thanks, Coffee and Vodka.
Yeah.
We also got a Facebook message from Dr. Bob Phillips who says, "Theory. The number of words in the episode title directly correlates with the volume of recognizable character deaths."
There you go.
I think you might just be right there. You might be on something. It was always going to end badly with a suspended ring of fire, but the complete destruction of the castle was not what I was expecting, nor was the redemption through fire of Stregobor. I think the hidden monolith and Ciri's use of it confirm my thinking, but don't hit the fanfare yet. Thanks, Dr. Bob. Yes, well, I think your theory obviously does need to be tested here to see, what happens to Ciri and, dare I say it, Vilgeforce as well by the end of it. And with Stregobor, I guess it's a redemption. I didn't fully take it like that. I just felt his hatred for elves is so much, and they're attacking. He is, in that moment, willing to, I guess, help half elf, half human of Yennefer, but maybe he does see ultimately what ties us together is more than what separates us, but he's still happy enough to be sending the pureblood elves to hell.
Oh, yeah.
But still, I think
it's a sacrifice, but not entirely selfless.
Yeah.
I would say it's just.
And we say a sacrifice, and I have said that in the summary and the synopsis, but it is kind of like Yennefer survived using fire
She did.
magic. So
Yeah.
Stregobor could be possibly he's been killed by Fringilla or whatever, because we do see them making it out
Yes.
of the wreckage of Aretusa.
I think he's gone. I think he exploded in the use of fire magic there, but he could come back in the next episode. And
I have to say, with the Ring of Fire above, floating above Aretusa and Francesca bringing it down, I have to say, I just assumed it was an illusion. I didn't think by doing that it was going to be real. But you're right that Dr. Bob having that suspended, potentially higher risk of an accident, I guess. Well, in the same way as until we had electricity, all the candles, more fires in the house.
Well, that's true. But it wasn't just like a chandelier ring of fire. There was a purpose for it. It was a protection spell over the top of them that was surrounded in fire.
I just thought it was ornamental because it was there for the ball.
Yeah, I thought it was part of the protection spell that had.
I thought it was just. So the sorcerers going, look how great we are because we can do this kind of magic.
Okay, I think it's because they talked about Yen putting the protection spell over Ciri in the cottage. I think maybe I got confused that fiery cool thing sitting over a fiery circle sitting over the castle was also protection.
Yeah, I just felt it was a decoration, like candles on a Christmas tree in winter.
That's also a terrible idea.
Exactly, which is, as an aside, thank God for electric light bulbs going on trees, because how the hell did you stop the Christmas tree from going up in flames?
No idea.
I guess you certainly didn't leave them on overnight.
No, definitely not. And you didn't allow them to burn down to their wicks and fall over.
Christmas becomes like a fire
disaster.
Risk. Yeah, exactly.
When was the Great Fire of London, John? Was that around Christmas time? Was it?
I can't remember.
No,
I think it was
it
was a bakery, wasn't it?
It was.
With the Great Fire of London.
It was. That's the only thing I remember about it. Good stuff. Thanks, Dr. Bob. In terms of the words in the episode title, I think we've got 10 in this. I haven't counted them. I think there's 10 words in the title of this episode, and we definitely lost roughly that many major named characters as well. So you could be right. We will be back with the next episode, episode 7, Out of the Fire into the Frying Pan, which also has quite a lot of words in it. So who else are we losing in next week's episode?
Absolutely. Whereas episode 8 as well that we'll be covering is fewer words, Cost of Chaos.
Yes.
As well. So we will be covering those in our final part of The Witcher Season 3, episode on TV Podcast Industries.
Absolutely.
We're also covering at the moment Good Omens over on Prime. Our first episode is up now, and we will have the second episode out very shortly as well. And we'll be back in a galaxy far, far away with Star Wars Ahsoka as well. And with Stregobor himself, Lars Mikkelsen, returning to play Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Yes, so if Stregobor is gone from The Witcher, at least we'll see him over in Ahsoka.
Exactly. Good stuff.
Did you know the reason why I added that in there, John, is because it's the 1st of August already.
I know.
So at the end of August, we get to watch Star Wars Ahsoka.
And Wheel of Time, fellow witches.
And Wheel of Time is the 1st of September.
Which is still not that far off, to be honest.
But there's 2 episodes of Ahsoka coming out at the end of August, so we'll have 2 under our belt at least for 2 days before Wheel of Time comes.
Cranks up. Exactly.
We've got lots of stuff going on this half of the year. And as you mentioned, 3 shows that we're covering at the moment. We just finished our coverage of Secret Invasion as well. So lots of stuff to listen to on TV Podcast Industries as well. Hope you're enjoying following along with us. And thanks so much for joining us for our podcast about The Witcher so far.
Yes. Remember, to hear us, please head on over to tvpodcastindustries.com, where you can subscribe to any good or evil podcast catcher of your choice. You can support us by subscribing and leaving a review of the podcast as well. And indeed, share the podcast, because sharing the podcast is sharing the love.
Lots of love lost in this episode,
Absolutely.
unfortunately.
but share it by sharing the Witcher podcast,
There you go.
fellow Witchers. You can also support us as well through patreon.com/TV Podcast Industries. And also we are on buymeacoffee.com/TVPI.
Absolutely. Thanks to everybody that supports us over there and everybody that shares the podcast as well, because we do really, really appreciate it. Thanks so much. We'll be back next time with episodes 7 and 8 of The Witcher Season 3, the last 2 episodes featuring Henry Cavill, John.
Ooh, boo.
What a sad moment it'll be.
Let's just hope Hemsworth can fill those pants and the bath.
And the bath, exactly. Thanks so much. Talk to you next time.
Yes, thank you so much, fellow Witchers, for joining us. It is great talking about Witcher Season 3 with you. Remember, until next time, keep watching, keep witching, and keep listening. Bye.
Bye.